Hello and welcome. I'm Lorianne Lumby with Authentic Freedom Academy, and this is our weekly spiritual service. Today is Friday, October 1st, 2021. And our theme today is liberation. And so let us begin with a brief meditation to give ourselves all an opportunity to arrive here. And so I'll invite you to close your eyes. And to begin by drawing your awareness into the center of your heart. And with your awareness held in that heart space, drawing each breath into the heart and releasing it from your heart. Breathing into your heart, breathing out from your heart. Allowing that rhythm of your breathing and your mindful attention to anchor your mind, your thoughts, your intention into that heart space, that center of love, compassion, that center of joy, celebration. Allowing yourself in that breathing to share in and participate with that energy of love that has created all things. That energy of love that has created all things, all people, and that energy of love that connects us. In your breathing, connecting with that creative power, connecting with the uplifting energy of love, that outflowing and overflowing energy of compassion, and becoming consciously aware of the ways in which we are all connected through that endless, limitless stream of love. And let us pause for silence in a few moments as we anchor ourselves in that loving intention. As we allow ourselves to arrive in this space, I want to share with you this reading from the Gospel of the Beloved Companion. And I invite you to hear these words. This is what my master has told and shown me. And only from the truth I tell you that all I have revealed to you is true. When the Magdalene had told of all that Jesus had said and done, she fell silent, since it was in that silence that Jesus had spoken with her and revealed these truths. Many of the disciples did not understand what she had said, and grumbling against her amongst themselves. Andrew therefore answered and said to his brothers, "Say what you wish to say about what she has said. I at least do not believe that the teacher said this, for these teachings are certainly strange and complicated ideas." Simon Peter answered and spoke concerning these same things. He questioned them about Jesus and said, "Did he really speak privately with this woman and not openly to us? Are we to turn around and all listen to her? Did he prefer her to us?" Then the Magdalene wept and said to Simon Peter, "My brother, what do you think? Do you think that I have thought this up myself in my heart, or that I am lying about Jesus? Only from the truth, again, I tell you that what I have said is the truth." And Levi answered and said to Simon Peter, "Simon, you have always been hot-tempered. Now I see you contending against this woman like the adversaries do. But if the teacher made her worthy, who are you indeed to reject her? Surely, as his companion, Jesus knew her better than all others. That is why he loved her more than us. Rather, let us be ashamed and do as she says. Let us put on perfect humanity and acquire it as she has done, and separate as he commanded us, and preach the testimony of the Son of Humanity, not laying down any other rule or other law beyond that which he gave us." And when they heard this, they were divided and argued amongst themselves. And therefore they began to leave separately and go forth to proclaim and to teach and preach what they understood of the words of the rabbi. These are the words and deeds of Jesus the Nazarene, the Son of Humanity. These are also many other things. There are also many other things which Jesus did, which if they would all be recorded, then even the world itself would not have room for the books that would be written. I have testified and recorded all that I have seen and heard in the light and truth of his love and the grace and power of his word. Only from the truth I tell you, those amongst you who understand and believe his words will not know death. I am Mary, called the Magdalene, the beloved companion. I was called to identify liberation as the theme of our gathering today. Liberation because so I'm just going to say I'm late to the party, and maybe some of you have already read this book, but if you have not yet, The Gospel of the Beloved Companion by it's French, Jean de Quillen. This book, it's hard for me to give words to it because I'm not sure if I'm going to cry, burst into tears of relief, or stand up and have a party. And I feel humbly and vulnerably silly for not having found this book before and not having read it before. But I also am very conscious of the perfectness of divine timing. And the reason this text brings me to tears is because in reading the Gospel of the Beloved Companion, all of my questions have been answered. All the questions that have come forth specifically in reading the Gospel of John, which the Gospel of the Beloved Companion is closest to in word and form. Some have suggested that this is the original text of John's Gospel. And in that, confirming my suspicions or thoughts that John's Gospel was not written by John, but was written by Mary Magdalene. The Gospel of the Beloved Companion puts all of the questions of John's Gospel to rest. The first and foremost being who actually showed up at the resurrection and was the first witness to the resurrected Christ. In the Gospel of the Beloved Companion, there is no question. It is Mary Magdalene, period. And Peter never showed up, or did any of the other disciples. Remember when we talked about that redacted section of the Gospel of John, where there's this beautiful story of Mary going to the tomb to visit the tomb of her beloved whose crucifixion and death she witnessed. And she goes to the tomb to pray and finds the stone rolled aside, and the conversation with the gardener, who turns out to be Jesus himself. Remember when we studied that and we looked at that weird insert about here's two sentences about Mary, and then all of a sudden Peter's in the game. And then all of a sudden Peter's gone and Mary's left with the gardener. The Gospel of the Beloved Companion proves that is indeed a redaction inserted by an institution with a Petrine privilege, with a patriarchal agenda. The Gospel of the Beloved Companion answers the question about the wedding at Cana. Whose wedding is this? And why is Jesus called to deal with the wine? I'm not going to give you the answer. The Gospel of the Beloved Companion answers that question. the question about the Samaritan woman at the well. The story in John's gospel has always struck me as odd because here's this amazing encounter and we never hear of that woman again. If you had had the kind of intimate encounter with Jesus that she had had, wouldn't you continue to want to be part of the story? Where'd she go? What happened to her? The Gospel of the Beloved Companion answers that question. The question about Mary of Bethany versus Mary Magdalene. Are they two different people? Are they one and the same? The Gospel of the Beloved Companion answers that question. That bizarre exchange at the foot of the cross, where Jesus in John's Gospel says, "Mother, behold your son. Son, behold your mother." That passage has never made sense to me. What does it mean? In John's Gospel, it seems to imply that Jesus is giving his mother's care over to John, the apostle, presumably the same apostle that wrote the Gospel of John. The Gospel of the Beloved Companion has a different answer to that story. The Gospel of the Beloved Companion. According to the author, is an original gospel text written by Mary's own hand in the 1st century. The author proposes that it may indeed be the earliest written record of Jesus' story. At the very least, it is of the same generation as the Pauline and Petrine letters. The Gospel of the Beloved Companion, according to the author, is a precious document that has been held and guarded for 2,000 years by a specific religious community, spiritual community, that has a presence in both southern France, in the Languedoc region, and in Ireland. That tradition continues today. And excuse me for a minute while I consult Google for the names of these communities. The French community is called Lacanau, and I'm apologizing ahead of time that I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. It's Laconneau, and their motto is, "My heart commands my voice." In Ireland, the community goes by the name An Cairleachta. In the over 20 years, well, in the lifetime of studying Mary Magdalene, but specifically the scholarly works that have been published in the last 30 years, what I can say in reading the Gospel of the Beloved Companion is that in the deepest part of my heart, it feels authentic. Without seeing the original papyrus, without being part of the community that preserves this ancient text and the oral tradition surrounding it, there's likely no way to really prove that. But such is also the case with literally every other scripture. The Gospel of the Beloved Companion presents the Jesus that we know in our heart. A man of deep compassion and care. A man that was not seeking to be Messiah or preaching about salvation in some heaven light years away. This is the Jesus that spoke exclusively about the kingdom within. This is not the institutional Jesus that's preaching dogma or doctrine or all the rules and regulations you need to follow or adhere to in order to make it into heaven's good graces. This is the Jesus that says, here are the tools, here are the practices that will help you find peace, contentment, and joy right here, right now. Here are the resources that will help you find your way through the difficult challenges of life. This is the man that reaches out in love to all in need of love. This is a man that turned the cultural values of his time on their head by inviting women into the intimacy of his inner circle, by treating women as equal to the men around him, to seeing into the depths of people's hearts so that he would know what they could receive and what they could not, and recognizing in Mary of Bethany the open heart and sensitive vision that could receive the fullness of his teachings. And in her ability to receive the fullness of those teachings, the Gospel of the Beloved Companion shows Jesus giving her the title of Magdalene, the tower of knowledge, the tower of faith, the beacon of love. This is the Jesus who recognized among his companions the one who could carry the fullness of his message and take it out into the world to be shared. He recognized this in Mary and empowered her to do that. Additionally, he gave her the strength and the vision and the insight and the compassion to endure criticism of the men with whom she learned and journeyed, condemnation by those who could not receive the fullness of Jesus' message, and the heartbreak of watching Jesus's intimate community fall apart into many branches going out into the world, some sharing the truth, others sharing their own version of the truth. Today, we celebrate liberation. Because in the gospel of the beloved companion, we have the full example of a priesthood of women, an apostleship of women. We see in the gospel of the beloved companion how Jesus himself empowered women to teach and preach and heal and serve. An empowerment that very quickly was denied women, especially starting with the Petrine Roman Church. We learn in the tradition of the gospel of the beloved companion how sacred community formed around the protection of women, the protection of this message. An underground community that has remained underground for 2,000 years for the sake of their own protection, their own safety, and to preserve the authentic, original message of love. In the resurfacing of this gospel and others like it, we have the permission, not the right word. We have the example that allows us to sit back into the calling that we have all received. To hold that calling, to abide by that calling, to adhere to that calling, and to live it out freely as Jesus spoke and Mary Magdalene spoke. And all those holy people who have preserved this message until the world was ready to hear it. Today, we celebrate liberation. And we breathe a sigh of relief for the ancient words that speak the truth that we have always known in our heart, but perhaps didn't have enough proof of. Now we have that proof. So I invite us to take a few moments in silence as we collectively allow our hearts to be open to receiving and knowing and anchoring and living that truth. So let us take the next 10 minutes and allow ourselves to simply be with the Magdalene, to be with Jesus, and to be with the energy and power of the gospel of the beloved companion.